Shedeur Sanders is easily one of the most polarizing prospects in 2025 Dynasty rookie drafts. Some people think that he shouldn't even be a first-round pick, but he's getting a little too much hate with everyone talking about Ashton Genty, Shedeur McMillan. Sanders is pretty easily my quarterback one, and I think they're going to get a really good value on him. Don't get cute, even if you think this QB class is trash. I'm going to go Caleb Johnson. I'm going to go Marion Hampton. I'm going to go Travis Hunter at the 103. Sanders is pretty clear-cut the 103 and the quarterback one in my opinion. And we're going to break down why that's so with a bunch of advanced stats and also a bunch of film breakdown as well.
When taking a look into Sanders' PFF profile, the main thing that pops out to me right away is the gradual increase of progression. 2022 at Jackson State, 83.7 PFF grade. Then he takes that big step up against tougher competition at Colorado and also improves it at 88.4. Then in 2024, his last year in college, gets it up to over a 90 at a 91.1. And compare that to Cam Ward, he kind of had an all over the place journey. He went to Incarnate Ward, then he went to Washington State, and then he had that fifth year ascension, fifth year breakout at Miami. So Sanders just typically is a cleaner prospect in my opinion because he has that more of a linear path where he's getting better every year, and you can expect that to transfer in the NFL once he, has to make those changes, once he has to adjust. You can expect him to get better year over year in the NFL as well. Now, just some basic stats as well. On top of that, PFF passing grade, again, in the 90s, fantastic. Intermediate grade, 93.7. Deep grade really impressed me at 94.4. And then no pressure grade versus pressure grade was a little confusing to me because it makes sense that he has a great no pressure grade at 93.3, being more of a pocket passer, but I didn't really see too many difficulties under pressure on film. I mean, 63 isn't like horrendous by any means, but I felt like it should have been a little better than that. I'm not really sure where they got that from, but I can also somewhat understand it at the same time. He's way more of a pocket passer than he is a guy that's going to handle pressure and be that kind of quarterback. But his other advanced stats, obviously the adjusted completion percentage, fantastic. Led the nation with 82.7%. Picks apart the defense from the pocket. That's no surprise to anyone. Had a solid big-time throw rate, 5.1%. We'll kind of look at that number compared to the other quarterbacks from 2024 in a second. And turnover-worthy play rate was also very low. At third of the nation, takes care of the ball well, 1.1%. Now, the issues come when you see pressure to sack conversion rate at 20.8%. That's pretty tough. We saw definitely a lot of the ability to, the lack of ability to take sacks on film. And also, average time to throw was terrible at 138th, 2.96. Even though he had a bad offensive line, he definitely struggles with that at times. And that's like the main concern I have for his profile. Now, putting him up against some of the 2024 quarterbacks, you see big-time throws I talked about. He had 25 compared to Caleb Williams at 27, Jaden Daniels at 29, and Drake May at 34. So he was lower than all three of those quarterbacks, but I'd say all three of them have showed flashes. All three of them have been pretty good in the NFL so far. So he's in that range, not lagging too far behind. And passing yards per attempt, he was at 8.65. Another stat that I really like to look at, which was actually more than Drake May, made 8.5. Caleb was at 9.3, and Jaden Daniels was 11.5. So again, a little better than May, in the same range as the other two. The last one I really like to look at when evaluating quarterbacks for fantasy is EPA. Now, his EPA was 78.6, and that was way better than Drake May's, who had 45.6. Caleb had 70.57, and Jaden Daniels blew them all the way at 153.28. When you turn on the film, you'll see pinpoint accuracy from Sanders a lot. Now, this game is against his toughest competition of the All-22 film, playing against Oregon from 2023. Now, right here, we'll see he's going to get pressure in his face right at the middle and still delivers a strike. Right here, drops back, changes arm angle, and hits that slant route perfectly in time for a pretty big chunk gain. If you watch it back, you see Sanders, this defender right up the middle, is just coming in completely free. And then one of these defenders is also going to win on his pass rush, leaving Sanders no choice but to change his arm angle as well. You'll see he's looking back to the middle of the field to the primary read, gets the ball, a guy jumping in his face. You have another guy free right around the goalpost, and gets the ball in there. It's perfectly in stride, and that allows the receiver to just make a massive gain. That's something that is very, very transferable to the NFL. Yet again, Sanders dealing with pressure, is getting blitzed off his blind side, but stays calm, stays composed, and puts it on a pinpoint dot to the outside. You'll see right here. Sanders doesn't even see this guy coming, can kind of sense it, has to get the ball out, and it's a perfect strike to the sideline to pick up about a first down. Now, one of the main knocks people are going to have against Sanders is he doesn't have elite ball velocity, and while that's probably true, I could see it from watching the tape. He doesn't necessarily rifle the ball in there 100% of the time. Right here, it's one read and go, just rip the slant route, and here he absolutely does, getting it down, putting it in a fairly tight window. You have this cornerback right here. You have this, I believe that's a safety down here, and Sanders has to fit it in this little box, and does so. It's definitely not Josh Allen, top 5 crazy arm strength, but it's definitely not below average either. I'd say it's B+, A-, an 8 on a scale to 10. It's not amazing, but it's definitely above average, and it's not bad at all. We're going to see 2 plays here that don't really look impressive on the surface, but just Sanders getting out to his running back and hitting him in stride right there. Doesn't see anything open. Here again, gets out of the pocket, hits him in stride, allows him to get up the field. That's the kind of stuff that he does a great job of taking care of the football. Just makes a simple read. Now, we'll dive into why that can be a problem sometimes when he takes a lot of sacks, but his ball placement is very, very good. That's very transferable to the NFL level, where you're giving these high-level yak receivers a chance to make a play with the ball in their hands. Another great display of accuracy and pretty good arm velocity as well. Fits the ball in there to a fairly tight window. Receiver goes up the field. Pretty nice chunk play there from Sanders. This right here was honestly one of the more impressive plays on film. Does a great job in pocket presence and gets the ball out perfectly. I mean, that could not have been placed any better. You have to see the corner with leverage. But right here, you see Sanders backed up in his own end zone. Does a great job avoiding the pressure. Slides, drifts to his left, and puts the ball exactly where it needs to be. You'll see right here, the receiver is coming back, breaking into the ball, and this corner has an angle. Now, he was probably a little too far off to have got it, but if Sanders leads him, directly in the middle, leads him in the middle of the field, that corner can come in, either probably not intercepted, he's probably too far off, but he can deliver a big hit that basically would have been him setting him up. Instead, by putting the ball to his outside shoulder, he's putting it in a place where the receiver is completely protected, the defensive back has no chance of getting the ball as well, and he just gives his receiver a chance to adjust and make a play, which he does. We're not really going to see too much of Sanders' deep ball on film, and I'll be honest, it is a little weak still. Here, you probably would like to see that ball thrown a little more out in front of him, but it's definitely not a bad ball by any means. Gets the ball, decent arm, strength, velocity, puts it in a place where only his receiver can catch it, and even though he ends up coming back to the ball and mossing it, it's a great play by the receiver. It's really not a bad ball at all, and that is fairly deep down the field, kind of just touching on Sanders' arm strength. At the goal line, one thing you're going to see me talk about is Sanders' ability to move in the pocket. Right here, you have a defender in his face, and he does essentially what coaches don't want him to do, throw the ball back across his body, but comes there, finds a defender nowhere near that receiver, and he's wide open for the touchdown. So you'll see right here, Sanders pretends like he's rolling out, comes back with the guy in his face, delivers a wide open strike, and you have that defender trying to close in right here. It's too late, and you also have this linebacker trying to close in. It's too late. Pretty easy window for Sanders right here. He has a lot of room to fit it in. However, he has a guy in his face, and he's also throwing across his body. So just a very creative way, even though Sanders isn't going to kill you with his legs. He's very creative in the pocket, which is something a lot of quarterbacks just don't naturally have. Up to this point, we've really only touched on the positives and the accuracy, which is the main point of Sanders. But here, this is a pretty poor ball, and it's on a deep ball. You see him just throw it inside. Pretty poor decision, and we're not really going to see this a lot from Sanders, but I thought it was notable to add against Oregon. Definitely not something you want to see. And here's where we're going to start diving into the sacks. Here you see Sanders should have thrown this ball away, tries to extend the play, and that's just a bad sack that you can't be taking. Right here, when you escape and you have the space, especially when he cuts back, right here, he should have tried to throw the ball away. Instead, he's not even looking at it, has 2 opportunities, and just goes down. That's a pretty big drive killer in the NFL. Outside of that 1 sack, I didn't really see it become a problem too much in that Oregon game, which is good. You don't want to see the mistakes compounded against a really good defense. But here, again, Sanders can move, and this is very important for fantasy football. We want our quarterbacks to have rushing upside. I don't think Sanders is a guy that is going to, be a Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, but I think he can be a Patrick Mahomes, a guy that picks up 20, 30 yards on the ground a game and can be viable to give you that somewhat of an upside and a decent floor combination as well. Now, to touch a little bit more on Sanders' turnovers and sacks, you'll see this Nebraska game. I know a lot of you remember this. This right here is just a bad sack. Sanders avoids the pass rush and just doesn't do anything, completely goes down. He had a sliver of hope, and it just does not well. You can't take that sack. He was back there for way too long. Compounds this mistake early on in the game in his own end zone, and he throws a pick 6. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy. You had him, I think he kind of threw his team out under the bus. It was like inferring that he ran the wrong route. Either way, I don't really care. It is a comeback, so that is more of a timing route. You got to be more careful on that, especially when you're backed up in your own end zone. This is against a tough Nebraska team as well. Top 25 defense in points allowed in the country this year, and they were ranked early on in the season. However, 2 bad mistakes. How does Sanders respond? Because you're going to get a lot of the character concerns. You're going to have a lot of adversity, especially in the NFL. And what he did after this really impressed me. I thought he looked really good, displaying great accuracy. Right here, another slant route. You'll see just rips the ball through that seam. I mean, this receiver doesn't really have a ton of space. The quarterback's right on his hip, puts it right in the pocket right here, and then allows him to keep going. I just love this throw by Sanders. I think it's also a pretty good display of ball velocity as well. So Sanders throws an interception, and right here, he's just about to bounce back with an incredible run of great throws. Right here, hits Travis Hunter. Pretty simple route, right? Not too big of a deal. Then here, steps up in the pocket, delivers a dart. Now, this was a fantastic throw. Hits Hunter right on the money, gives that electric playmaker a chance to make a big play. He does. I mean, he throws this open. When he's throwing the ball, you see Hunter is here, and this defender actually is in front of Hunter, if not maybe a step in front of him. You also have this defender right here behind him. If he doesn't put this ball on the money, if this is a tad behind Hunter, that's probably another interception and a terrible compounding mistake. Instead, boom, absolute dime, right on the money. Hunter keeps going. Fantastic big play. Right here, pocket closing, throws it over 3 people. I mean, this is an NFL-ready throw if I've ever seen one. You see right here, drops back, the pressure's coming to him. Even with that in his face, I mean, just look at this when he throws the ball. You have this defender right here, half a step behind this receiver. You have this defender closing in right here, and you have this defender cheating him towards the middle. There is 3 defenders, and he has to put this ball, again, to not be an interception, right on the money, basically right here, allowing his receiver to turn upfield and make another big play. Does exactly that. Just unbelievable throw right here over the defender's head. Picks up another big game. And right here, he's going to say, I'm not done yet. Designated rollout. You have a guy chasing him off platform over the second defender's head with barely any separation on that cornerback. I mean, let's watch this back. This is a thing of beauty. Sanders right here, feet not set. You might yell at him if you're the coach, but you can't when he's throwing this thing of beauty. I mean, right here, you see the other defender in the screen. If he's positioned, again, if that's a few inches to the left and the defender jumps, that's a pick 6 right there. You also have tight coverage and just a very, very small window right here on the sidelines where Sanders can put it. Doesn't even have his feet set, isn't rolling out to his arm side, and just puts that on an absolute dot. Great catch, too, as well by the receiver. Now, this is what I mean about Sanders getting creative in the pocket. I mean, just look at this. Roll out. Fantastic throw. Let's kind of wind this back to see, again, how much traffic is there. You have a defender right there. Needs to put it over his head. You have a defender closing in right here. And again, Sanders is far on the run. Needs to put it perfectly on the sidelines. Yet again, I mean, this is just the pinpoint accuracy we're talking about, especially on the run. Great catch by the receiver as well. I mean, you got to give props there for hanging on to that ball. Comes right back, scans the field, throws an absolute missile around 3 guys. I mean, 1, 2, 3. Puts it right on the money. Again, good catch by the receiver. And these Colorado receivers are tough because, I mean, how is he hanging on to that when there's 3 guys in that area? Actually, didn't really get that hit that hard. But Sanders is not done. He's going to go on an absolute heater of throws after that bad sack interception. Puts the ball right there again. I mean, let's rewind that. Sanders, great job. And again, he's not looking to run, even though, he has space here. He's using his legs to create a throwing lane. Right there, you have the defender jumping, needs to put it to his left. This defender closing in, this defender off his hip. Again, just a small window where Sanders can fit that ball, and he does it with precise accuracy once again. Just phenomenal stretch of plays by Sanders. Again, that is the kind of adversity. Yeah, it sucks, took a bad sack, compounded that really pretty shortly with a pick 6, but doesn't stay down, doesn't get beat up, and just drives his team down the field over and over again. Pretty basic route here and throw. Sanders looking down, but just to show you, recapped that drive, or capped off that drive with a touchdown. Great job, Sanders. I mean, those throws are just unbelievable. In this last game, though, we're going to see Sanders display his creativity even more. I mean, we're just totally polished here for the most part. Fantastic play by Sanders. Everything is breaking down. You see no one's open. Steps back into the pocket. Steps right back up. Avoids a sack. You have 2 guys on him. And when he's throwing this, I mean, he's throwing it on the run. 2 guys in his face. Buys enough time to just hit a wide open Travis Hunter in the back of the end zone. Fantastic play right there by Sanders. Touching on his accuracy and arm strength once again. That right there is going to be a slant route to Travis Hunter. Pretty good arm velocity right there. Good accuracy. Hits right there. I mean, this is just another creative play as well. Fantastic pocket movement. Gets out of the pocket and willingness to scramble when he needs to. This right here, though, is a pretty bad sack. These are the kind of sacks that you just can't be taking in the NFL. Sanders has time, recognizes, and rather than trying to get out of the pocket, what he should have done is say, okay, we don't have to be a hero right here. We recognize this guy's blitzing us. We have protection to the right. Anything even if, this play is developing to the left side, know that either I can look for a lane and scramble, pick up a few yards, or just get the ball out. What I can't do is what I'm about to do right here, and that's just try and run backwards and then take a sack. That's not going to fly in the NFL, and it's just rough to see those kind of plays from Sanders. Like I said earlier, we didn't really see too much of Sanders' deep ball on film, but this right here is a thing of beauty. I mean, perfect touch, good enough arm strength to get the ball down the field, and you have a defender just coming in completely unblocked. Sanders knows he's going to get hit and has to throw this ball with the perfect touch under pressure. Does absolutely that as he gets lit up right there. And just a great throw. This right here is going to be another example of the arm strength. You'll see him get out of the pocket, come back. I mean, and if, coaches are going to be screaming, do not throw this ball. You're throwing across your body on the run. Your feet are not set. But he fits it in there. You're not going to find a quarterback with bad arm strength make that throw. So that kind of that one play kind of disproves the notion. And lastly, we are going to see another deep ball. I guess this is Oklahoma State, a weaker defense. But there's no better time than to show that you're developing at something than one of the last games of your career, because you can say, hey, I've been working my entire season, entire collegiate career, and here's some of it on film. Here's some of my deep ball. Right here, clean pocket this time, and just drops a dime to his defender's back shoulder. We'll see that. I mean, you also just look at the throwing motion as well.
I'm not going to break that down too in depth because, to be honest, I don't totally understand that as well as, an NFL quarterback might. But his throwing motion looks very smooth, very repeatable, looks good to me. And that ball right there, just thrown to a place where only, I believe, Jimmy Horn can get it. Or if that's not him, I'm deeply sorry. But fantastic throw nonetheless. I mean, Sanders just looked phenomenal throughout this film. You are going to see a few bad decisions. You are going to see some pretty bad sacks. But overall, the accuracy stood out to me. The arm talent was above average. The mobility to create throwing lanes was supreme. And his rushing ability, which is very important for fantasy football, wasn't bad at all. Now, Sanders really did impress me when turning on the film. His advanced stats look pretty good as well. And he is clearly my quarterback one in the class ahead of Cam Ward. I do think they are kind of in a similar tier. Ward's my QB2. Sanders is my QB1. Jalen Milroe is my QB3. And in terms of overall Superflex drafts, I'm taking Sanders at the 103. We have Tedor McMillan, Ashton Genty, then Shedeur Sanders. We can argue about Genty versus McMillan another time. And then we have Cam Ward at 104. I think in a Superflex format, you just have to take Sanders because assuming he goes, top 3 overall, right? And then he ends up going to a spot like the Giants or the Raiders. Neither of those are bad spots. You get him with Malik Neighbors. You get him with Brock Bowers. I know the rest of the team is a dumpster fire, but at least he has one elite playmaker on either spot. I think he could easily ascend to, a CJ Stroud level ascension at the max, going early in the first round startup picks. I could easily see him becoming a 1-2 turn startup pick. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he becomes a second round startup pick after this year. So just the upside with these quarterbacks with great draft capital, with really good pedigree, with being picked, high in rookie drafts, it really does translate into high upside in the overall dynasty market. So at that pick with the 103, I'm not going to get cute. I know a lot of people are going to be hating on Sanders in this offseason process about throwing his teammates under the bus. They don't like that he's getting $4.7 million in NIL money. They don't like that he's being flashy as a college student. But at the end of the day, you play Dynasty to win championships, and Shedeur Sanders makes your Dynasty team better, and that's why I'm picking him as my quarterback 1 and at the 103 in Dynasty Superflex drafts.
With that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and comment your thoughts down below. I'm really excited to start talking Dynasty with you guys, and if you guys want to get the best breakdowns of these players where we're bridging the gap between statistics and film, subscribe to the Dynasty Trading Room for more content. We will be posting a ton going forward.